Hello there, and welcome to Play the Game with Steve. Villains Beyond, Episode 20, Thanos. Hey, in this series, we explore the different stages of Thanos. We'll look at his signature villain cards and how they will punish our heroes during the encounter phase. We'll take a look also at the finer rules that might have changed or that might not be super clear how they work, so we're going to explore that. But most importantly, we're going to take a look at some of the modular sets that you can include to increase the overall thematics, maybe the difficulty lower or higher, and just the overall pleasure of this scenario. All this and more on this episode of Villains Beyond Thanos. Our villain Thanos has 3 stages. He is Black Order and Titan traded on all 3 of the stages. He also has Stalwart on each one of them and has a force response on all 3 that says after the Infinity Stone deck runs out, give Thanos a face down boost card. On stage 1, he is a scheme of 1, an attack of 2, and 16 hit points per player. On stage 2, he has a scheme of 2, an attack of 3, comes in with toughness at 23 hit points per player. Also has a when revealed to search the encounter deck and discard pile for Thanos' helmet and then reveal it. And on stage 3, he has a scheme of 2, an attack of 4. He also comes into play with toughness and has 28 per player. And also a when revealed, search the encounter deck and discard pile for Thanos' armor and reveal it. So as you can see, Thanos is no joke, but what you saw here is not what you get, because he's even more powerful than he looks, because he does come into play with the Infinity Gauntlet that boosts his stats or +1/+1. That is a permanent and part of the setup of this scenario, and also says force response after the attacked villain activates, you resolve the special ability on each Infinity Stone in play. Otherwise, you put the top card of the Infinity Stone deck into play. So that's pretty interesting. Again, it's going to give him all these extra powers. So let's go take a look at some of those stones. So we got the Space Stone that's going to go and discard a minion. And then that's going to get discarded. Then we have the Time Stone, which forces you to discard the top 4 of your deck and place 1 threat for each different card type. So resource, ally, event, support, and then upgrade. Then we have Soul Stone that heals 3 damage and gives them a face down boost card. We have the Mind Stone that confuses you, and if you're already confused, you discard a card at random from your hand. Then we have the Power Stone that stuns you, and if you're stunned, you take 3 damage. And finally, the Reality Stone, you discard an ally, upgrade, or support. So again, all these extra abilities that Thanos has just makes him that much more difficult to manage. And because you don't have access to stun or confuse, that means these stones are going to trigger a lot, and that's really going to add to the difficulty of this scenario. All right, so Thanos has 2 main schemes. The only thing that says here is to see the rules insert for the Infinity Gauntlet rules. And then his main scheme is the Infinity Stones. It starts at 0, goes up by 1 per player, has a cap of 12 per player. Also has a when revealed to put the top card of the Infinity Stone deck into play. And then search the encounter deck and the Sanctuary side scheme and reveal it. And if you lose this main scheme, you will go to balance the scales. When revealed, each player shuffles their discard pile into their deck. Each player removes the top half of their decks rounded down from the game. So this is very punishing. That means he snapped his fingers and then half your deck is gone. So, and round down means if you had 31 cards, you'll discard 15 instead of 16. All right, so that's how rounded down works. Now, also here, it can be a blessing and a curse, because if all your best cards are in the remaining half, it should just make sure that you get all your power cards. But if you lose all your good cards, your attack cards and stuff like that, then it might just make this game over, especially if he snaps early enough in the game. Then what's going to happen, it starts at 0, goes up by 1 per player, has a cap of 12 per player again, and it says if this stage is completed, the players will lose the game. So very, very fun. I love the thematics of this. Very cool main scheme. All right, let's take a look at Thanos' signature card. So the first one is Sanctuary. Now, funny enough here, that card always starts into play. So he's starting on his ship. It starts at 3 and then has a hinder 1. So that means when it reveals, it will add 1 threat per player here. Thanos cannot take damage. So he is invincible while he's on his ship. Good thing it's not too hard to get rid of. It's either 4 threat, 5, 6, or 7 threat in a 4-player game, so it's not that bad. The cool part is the when defeated, each player may spend up to 3 physical resources from their hand to deal 2 damage to Thanos for each physical resources. So 3 physical resources for 6 damage. That's super strong, and it bypasses the tough status card, which is amazing. So that's something, if you want to deal damage quickly to Thanos, that is a great way to do it. And then victory means once it is defeated, you do not put it in the discard pile. You just get rid of it and you put it into the out of zone play. He's got another side scheme, which is called the Titan's Throne. Starts at 2 per player, gives a amplify icon, which means it's going to add a boost icon to every card that is revealed for boosts. When defeated, you choose and discard an Infinity Stone from play. So in solo play, that's really, really easy to get rid of. Only 2 per player. So that's really fun. And if he has one of those nasty ones like the Space Stone or the one that makes you discard cards, the Reality Stone, those are fun to get rid of because they can be pretty punishing. So those are 2 of his things. Then he has got a couple of attachments. So we have Thanos' helmet. And Thanos gains Retaliate 1. There's a hero response. After a hero makes a basic attack against Thanos, you can spend a mental and a physical to get rid of this card. He also has his Thanos' armor that has also a force interrupt. When Thanos would take any amount of damage, reduce that amount of damage by 1. So this here is very important. It's not damage from an attack. So that's really important. That means Retaliate doesn't work. If you have Retaliate 1, like you have Captain America's shield or Black Panther, and Thanos attacks you, the Retaliate will not work because it is damage and it is reduced by 1 all damage. There is a hero response. After a hero makes a basic attack against Thanos, you can spend a lightning and a physical to discard this card. And this is a good one to get rid of because the -1 to everything is terrible. Then he's got 2 copies of Masters of the Stones attached to Thanos. Gives him +1 to each of his stats. So +1 scheme, +1 attack. And there's also a forced interrupt. When Thanos activates, put the top card of the Infinity Stone deck into play. And at the end of the activation, you discard Master of the Stones. This here, how this works is basically if there's no stone in play, you put 1 in play, and then he's going to trigger a stone. If there's already a stone, you add a second stone, and then that goes away. So not too bad. It's not too harsh, but it does add a lot of the Infinity Stones into play. Then he's got a bunch of treacheries, and really for a bad guy like Thanos, most of his cards are super cheese mode. So Deviant Syndrome, there's 2 copies of that one. Insight 1, so it adds a threat on the main when it is revealed. And then you give Thanos a tough status card. And if you can't, you place 2 threat on the main scheme. I'm like, for a big boss like Thanos, this card is super easy mode. And then as a boost effect, you just give him a tough status card. So really, Thanos, like this is like the one I'm tough from what's his face from Rhino. So this is like a Rhino level card. It's super easy mode, and that's cool. All right, then there's I Am Inevitable. He's got 2 copies of that one too. Another treachery. When revealed, give Thanos a face down boost card. I'm like, you kidding me? This is like so easy. The thing is, as a boost effect, this is where it becomes a little bit dangerous. Is you discard the top card of the Infinity Stone deck, you apply its boost icons for the activation as if it were a boost card. So there's a couple that are really rough, and there's one with there's a 4. There's 1/1. There's 2 2s, 2 3s, and 1 4. So again, that boost ability is like the most dangerous part of this card. Or else I'm inedible. It is another treachery that is super easy mode. And again, not really dangerous for Thanos. Then he's got the Mad Titan, another 2 copies of. When revealed, you put the top card of the Infinity Stone deck into play. Like, really? That's it? No extra activation or nothing. And then as a boost effect, if damage from this attack defeats an ally, put the top card of the Infinity Stone deck into play. So obviously this one, Thanos does hit pretty hard, so most likely you will want to be blocking with an ally. So this card is going to reveal itself, and it's going to have the same effect either when revealed or if you're blocking with allies often. So for me, this is another really, really cheesy card. It doesn't make Thanos super dangerous. Now, his most dangerous card is the Avatar of Death. There's 2 copies of that one. When revealed in Alter Ego, he will scheme, which is going to make you maybe bring you closer to the snap. But when revealed hero, Thanos will attack you. That attack gains overkill and piercing. So that technically is his most dangerous card in his kit. So obviously he's got a lot of stuff going on with the Infinity Stone. So every time he activates, but for me, Thanos definitely his kit. If you take a look at Ronin compared to what Thanos has, like, my God, Thanos is technically a walk in the park. He's got 1 card that can really mess you up, and that's the Avatar of Death. Rather than that, he is definitely on the easier side for a villain. All right, before we go into the modular sets that I would propose, this is a variant to Thanos. It is a pretty cool variant. We played it last night in a 4-player game. It was very fun. So what it is Thanos only gets 1 stone per turn. So you will get the stones at random. And after he before he activates against you, you will resolve the stone ability. So at the beginning, when he's going to activate against you, you will resolve the stone. And it's only once. It's not every time he activates. It's just once per turn. So he'll activate with the Power Stone versus every player, and that's it. And then on the second turn, he's going to get a second stone, and then that stone's going to activate against every player, and so on and so forth until all 6 of the stones are activated. So once he finishes on the 7th turn, so he gets 6 turns, and then on the 7th turn, he activates all the stones, and then that is your final turn. So if you weren't able to defeat him, he activates all the 6 stones against you, and then he wins. So there you go. So it is kind of putting Thanos on a clock. So you have 7 turns to deal with his stuff. But he's only activating the stone once each turn. But like Steve, but what about all the other things that kind of happen with some of the cards? So very simple. You just kind of ignore some of the things. So here it says, put the top card of the Infinity Stone deck into play. And then this one, it says, if damage from this attack defeats an ally, put the top card. So what you would do instead is it gives him an extra chance to activate his stones against you. So if he gets revealed, you just do whatever the stone says that is the active stone. Then is I am inevitable. It says give Thanos a face down boost card. Or here it says discard the cards from the Infinity Stone deck. You just give him an extra face down boost card. You just ignore the Infinity Stone deck. For Master of the Stones, same thing. He will get the +1/+1, and after that activation, you just redo the same stone again. So he just activates that stone again. And then the Titan's Throne is just an amplify icon. You don't discard the Infinity Stones as he gets them. It doesn't like buy you a turn. So there you go. So those are only a couple of little changes. This is a super fun way to play it. And then you have a 6-turn clock. Now, if you want to make it challenging, you can play on Skirmish, Standard. We played Skirmish and a 4-player game, and we managed to win on the Skirmish. But Thanos, I don't think we would have made it to stage 2. He probably would have taken us out. So because we were at stone number 5. So we had like 2 extra turns. We had 2 turns to take him down, 96 hit points. So there you go. So that is a cool variant way to try Thanos. I think in single player it might be a little bit easier. Maybe even 2 players, you might have a little bit more leg room. And there you go. So you try that, and if he gets all 6 stones on the 7th turn, you are done. So you have 7 turns to defeat Thanos, or else he wins. All right, let's move to the thematics of the thing. So I really wanted to focus on thematics for what the stones can do, because I felt like this was going to be pretty cool, and trying to focus on this and trying to see what if I can kind of reproduce the effects with the modular sets of what the stones can do, or just what feels the most thematic for each stone. So for the space stone, I really like science fiction. The Asteroid M kind of does the same effect as the Space Stone. Is when you when it goes to the next player, you're gonna when you pass the first player token, you're gonna discard, or you're gonna look for a minion in the discard pile or the encounter deck, and you're gonna put it into play. Kind of what like the Space Stone does. And then the other cards in this modular set, obviously there's a bunch of minions. And they're not easy minions too, so it can kind of bring the difficulty up. And then obviously the Mojo Runner settings environment that is pretty brutal, that gives all the allies and minions tough status cards, which could be really good. It could be to your benefit or your detriment, depending on what kind of minion you're getting and what kind of deck you're playing versus Thanos. Then I enjoyed the Time Stone. Obviously, the Time Stone, it forces you to discard cards, but I think just putting in the temporal, just because there's a T-Rex and the Ancient Warriors and stuff like that, I think the temporal modular set just kind of fits easy. It's an easy fit for the Time Stone, so I like that one. For the Soul Stone, yes, it heals 3 damage, but I thought Down to Earth was probably the best one that kind of reflects it thematically the most. With the friends and family, you know, it's inside the soul, and then loose ends, threat or menace. So just kind of like the innards workings of the soul, you know, just like kind of, it's very relatable to like feelings and stuff like that. So I thought this one was good. Was a good thematic modular set to include with the Soul Stone. Now for the Mind Stone, I don't know if you're gonna guess, but Personal Nightmare. So the Mind Stone, like messing with your head. So from the Sinister Motives, we have the Induced Panic, we have the Deepest Fears, we have the Evil Doppelgangers, Weakness from Within, and Fool's Paradise. So these are some great thematics that go with the Mind Stone. So this modular really works well if you want to focus on what the Mind Stone can do. Then we got the Power Stone. So this one's kind of a no-brainer too. The Power Stone, I do like the Mess of Things. Kind of reflects what the Power Stone's doing. This is stunning you a lot. So Gang Up, Tail Sweeps, a Mess of Things, and Scorpion. So extra stun effects in the villain's deck. Kind of focuses and represents well the Power Stone for this. And then finally, the Reality Stone. So I like the Whispers of Paranoia for this one. Like the Delusions of Collusions force you to discard cards, allies, or supports. Analysis Paralysis, get some side schemes. Old Grudge, and then Manipulated Mind. I think that was just like it John and messes like the reality of what you're facing. So I think that those were like some good thematic suggestions to kind of focus on what the stones are doing instead of what Thanos is doing. So if you like that, so check out, you can kind of combine, I'm going to put the one that focuses on the reality and the space stone, and just depending on how you're feeling, and you can try to combine those modulars differently every time you play. All right, now let's move on to challenge mode. So if you want to make Thanos a little bit more challenging, I really suggest the Kree Militants here. Why? They have 3 privates in here. Not only do they have quick strike, but they also give him the effect that his attacks will gain overkill. And normally the strategy versus Thanos is just put some allies in front of him. And then you just like, all right, I'm safe. But adding these guys is just going to make it a little easier for Thanos to damage you. The other ones is the Kree Commandos that give him piercing. So if you think like, I'll just play Colossus and I'll always be tough and never take damage. Well, if we got the Kree Commandos in there, that can negate that effect as well. And obviously the Kree Lieutenants, are also going to add triple boost icons to the attack. So this is a good way here to increase the challenge. And if you combine this with the Space Pirates, now this is a very nasty combination. Honor among Thieves will search for some of the pirates and the criminals, but the pirate lackeys also get rid of your cards. So he's kind of like helping the Thanos. These guys are helping the Thanos snap by removing cards from your top deck, and this one removing him from your hand. So obviously, this combination here is extremely deadly. So be prepared. Be very prepared to be in pain. So this is my first recommendation if you're looking to increase the difficulty by a lot. The second one is, again, if you're playing an ally strategy and you want to counter that effect, as adding Crossfire's crew to this, Out for Blood will just eviscerate every ally in play if you're not careful. And then obviously all of the minions in here also have these nasty effects on the allies. So this is another good challenge to add to your combination. Now, if you want to double the challenge and double the fun, combine Crossfire's crew with the Enchantress, which will not only steal your allies, but also enchant you so you cannot attack. And this is obviously going to be a nightmare scenario. Thanos is going to probably overrun you if he's got the right combination of Crossfire minions and then the Enchantress. You might just be crying, and Thanos will be snapping you out of existence in no time. All right, and for the final suggestion, if you're looking for more challenge, if you haven't tried it, try Thanos with Mystique. Oh my god, it is brutal. Because Mystique will mimic Thanos' power, so once he has the Infinity Glove and going up, he can go up to 5 or 6 attack, and he can't get attacked while she's in play, so that can become extremely brutal. And if you add Thanos, who's going to go get the Acolytes and steal them from Magneto, all these minions have these cool effects that kind of combo off with the villains things that he's doing. Is again going to be another recipe for a supreme face pounding. So those are the suggestions if you're looking to increase your challenge with Thanos. All right, and finally for the lulls, here's a couple of combinations that are pretty old school. It reminds me of Thanos in one of the first appearances in Marvel Comics. He's there and he's like stealing a helicopter. So I kept thinking about that thing where you just kind of you see the Thanos helicopter. So I was thinking of running interference, and I see like the helicopters here, and I can just imagine Thanos with the media coverage just going in, and obviously you have Tombstone and running interference and all tied up. Things that kind of be a little bit more annoying. So I can kind of see this as a lulls. And also a throwback to that time where Thanos stole the helicopter. So I was like, oh, that's just for the lulz. And paired that with the bomb scare. I was like, oh, Thanos is up to like just some mischievous hijinks. He's not trying to overthrow the world. You know, back when the comics were like just more about the villain and just it wasn't really about story arcs or anything. It was just like, oh, what can the villain do that's mischievous this time? So Thanos with a bomb scare is like, okay, it's just for the lulz. So those two ones together. Also, if you're looking to decrease the difficulty a little bit, well, this is definitely going to bring the difficulty down. The only thing I would say, there's only 3 minions in the deck, so that Space Stone might hurt a little bit. All right, the second for the lulz, I can just imagine the goblin gear, the goblin gimmicks here. Just imagine Thanos throwing some pumpkin bombs on top of a glider. So that's what I kind of liked it. He's got the intimidation and then the regenerative healing where he can kind of heal up a little bit. So that combined with the sitcom, I really did enjoy that little duo here with all the obligations. That make you, either discard cards or get other stuff. So for the lulz, and then so you feel like you're kind of like in a TV reality. You're like, what is going on with all these things? So There you go. So those are the two suggestions for like for the lulls modular sets. This one's actually pretty tough because once you start piling up those obligations, it kind of becomes a little bit more challenging, especially if Thanos has that Infinity Glove triggering every turn. It can definitely slow you down a bit having to flip down to Alter Ego a lot. So those are the suggestions for the lulls. All right, so it's returning to the end. Let's talk about some of the best cards to include in each aspect to face off against Thanos. It's no joke that Thanos can be super tough, especially because of his high attack potential with the extra boost cards, with the Infinity Glove and the extra effects. So the best way, and the best way to fight off Thanos is by bringing some friends along, because we can know. I don't think I've beaten Thanos in a ally-less deck. I'd have to think about what I could do here if I could actually make that challenge work, because that would be pretty amazing. Trying to beat Thanos with never taking an instant, trying to beat Thanos and surviving his big punches. Maybe Colossus could do it. Maybe Shadowcat has a good chance of doing it, but I'd have to see what would be the best way to bring down Thanos. So if you're playing aggressions, here are some of the best cards to bring. Throg, especially if there's a minion, he gets tough. So basically he can block twice, which is really good. You got Marvel Boy that you can spend a physical resource and give him piercing, which is great if he has the tough status cards. Sunfire, because Thanos does have a couple of attachments, so if you can just get rid of one that has a hero action for one, why not? And then Wolverine, obviously the piercing and that 3 attack, so it's gonna do some work for ya. In protection, not too hard to see. We got Armor again. You can only play her if you have the X-Men trait though, but she costs 2 and comes in with toughness, so again, a double block. Polaris, same thing. She can give herself a tough, and then she blocks twice, which is great. You have the Multiple Man, who can have 3 copies of himself, so that's 3 blocks, which is amazing, and 3 thwart. You got Luke Cage, same thing. You got Martyr, she can get some tough, and Charlie, who has the tough and the retaliate. So these good guys in protection can definitely help you out against the big purple dinosaur here. All right, Injustice, cards like Eros, Quake, Wiccan, and Daredevil, again, cheap allies, or a pretty more expensive ally that does also remove threat and do some ping damage, which is great for Thanos, to avoid the retaliates and all that stuff. So that's the suggestions to add to the Justice pool. So again, just bring some friends against Thanos. So we have Ant-Man in leadership, Stinger, Squirrel Girl's really good to remove the toughs, obviously Maria Hill, and Black Knight, again, really work well here against Thanos. They're cheap, they're easy to put down, and they still allow you to build up your board while Thanos is trying to wreck it down. And then finally, in the basic cards, we got Blade, Cosmo, and Vivian. Don't forget that Cosmo now does not affect the Infinity Gauntlet deck. He can only affect the encounter deck and the player deck. And also, Vivian was going to be my go-to girl, but now with the new rulings, Vivian can no longer blank out the Infinity Gauntlet because it has the permanent keyword. She can no longer affect cards that have the permanent type. Rats! That would have been such a cool combo. Just like I was so ready to say, oh, Vivian, she can just blank out the Infinity Gauntlet, but they decided to go against that. I think they saw that and didn't slip through the cracks. Good job, FFG, catching a cool slip that could have worked until this morning. So that would have been awesome. Vivian blanking this out, but no longer possible. But Vivian is still a good blocker. She can get rid of some stuff. Unfortunately, she can't work on the stones because the stones are environments. So that doesn't work. So she can blank out a minion. But she could definitely work against his armor. So if you want the one that reduces the damage. So she can definitely blank out the armor or the retaliate. Unfortunately, she also blanks out the hero response of removing it. So if you don't have a way to deal it, she can get rid of the text until the next turn where you might have a chance to deal with that. She also can blank out the Masters of the Stone. So she's still pretty useful, even though she can't take down the Infinity Gauntlet by herself, because that would be too powerful. So on that note, guys, this is it for Thanos. I hope you like the suggestions. Let me know which one you're going to be trying out in the comments. If you want to try that 6-turn Thanos game, well, technically 7-turn Thanos game. It's really fun, and it's very exciting to see, like, oh man, can we put Thanos on a clock? If you can beat him, then good for you. And I think you have to kind of tone your decks to beat him on expert, like really, really tone them. But I'm sure you can have some fun here with that, with the ultimate power Thanos. It still kind of nerfs him a little bit, so there's ways around that. So I hope you enjoyed the suggestions. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. And this video has been going long enough, so I'm going to end it there. So guys, just remember to have some fun, keep on playing Marvel Champions, and have some fun, and play the game. Ciao, ciao.